Bang, bang. I have my handy dandy notebook. No Steve from Blue's Clues. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for trusting me to be that source of information and education and all that is Street Fighter. Today we're going to be talking about Tokido versus Sako. Let's get down to it. Like I usually do with all my analysis paralysis videos, I talk about the characters first, and we talk about the pros and the cons. So, if you've been living under a rock, Akuma is played by Tokido, and Sako plays Menat. And they are, you can pretty much say, the best with their characters in the world. So you have the #1 Menat versus the #1 Akuma. We've been analyzing Akuma the past couple of analysis paralysis because Tokido's been in like grand finals for how many events now. So that's pretty funny. So you guys already know, but I'm still going to talk about the pros and cons of the character in case there are people in here that are new. But I'll keep it nice and concise. So in terms of pros for Akuma, he's a very versatile character. And when I say versatile, I mean that he can win multiple ways. He's not like a Zangief where he has to rush in, right? He doesn't have to rush in order to win. He doesn't have to grab you 7 times and just stun you and stuff like that. He can win by zoning. He can win by knocking you down. He can win by rushing you down. He can win by frame trapping you, by throwing. He has so many options. He can out footsie you, and then the ways he can accomplish these things, he has a plethora of ways to go about it. He can use his mobility, right? He has great mobility because he has the jump, dive kick. He has the command flip. He has different versions of the command flip. He also has air fireball. Did I say air fireball? I don't even know. Air fireball. So he can change his trajectory in the air, and when you can change your trajectory, you're essentially changing the path that you're going across, you know, until you land. So if my opponent is anticipating for me to go in this linear path like this, right? But then all of a sudden, like I stop short, my anti-air could whiff, and then I'm left open, and my opponent can now pressure me, or at worst, they can punish me. So he's very dangerous because of that. And then on top of that, he has amazing offense. Like every button he has, except for like maybe like 4 I can think of, are plus. Like his crouching strong is +3. Like it's like, whoa, you know, he has a lot of options and variety in his offense. So it makes it really hard to keep track of his mind games or his rhythm offensively, because he has so many different ways to hit you, so many different ways to frame trap you. So it makes it very difficult for you to get a read on him defensively. You know, so you have to guess a lot more than you would against other characters. Okay. Also, he has access to a 3-frame normal. So when he's on the defensive, he doesn't necessarily have to DP in situations. If he can just sneak in a 3-frame normal, he has a EX DP. He has a DP. Not every character has that. That's super important because that will beat a throw. That will beat a button. That will beat a projectile. Like, so any type of unblock that is in my face, that would basically beat. Okay. And he has a great walk speed, so he can engage. He can move into his effective positioning a lot easier than most characters because he has a good walk speed, and he can also move out because he has a good back walk speed also. So he can engage and disengage. So engaging meaning he can attack, right? And he can be a lot more accurate with his spacing because his walk speed's so fast, and it'll be harder for his opponent to walk away. Okay, that's why a good walk speed is important, because if I have a good walk forward speed, it's harder for my opponent to walk away from me. So it's going to be easier for me to hit them, to land something on block. Okay, and he has good walk speed, so he can move away. He can disengage. He can force things to whiff a lot easier than characters with a slow back walk speed. Okay, and he's also extremely strong in neutral because he has cancelable normal attacks, medium pokes, that can lead to knockdown. Not every character in the game has that. That's so important to have that, because then you can establish your offense. So he can basically play that footsies dynamic, and then he can turn that into one of his goals, like his objectives. He can accomplish one of them because of that. He can knock down and then pressure you, and then he can use his offense. So you see how we can kind of string together the story of the character. And lastly, his V trigger. Oh my lord, his V trigger is really good. It's really strong. Untuckable knockdown. Well, not untuckable, but it's a forced knockdown, right? So he dashes up afterwards, and it's a set rise every single time. That thing is so strong. V-trigger DP is ridiculous. He's basically playing Street Fighter 4 for like a couple of seconds when he lands that. And then he has the option of the air fireball, which is so good that he can throw the air fireball at the earliest possible timing. And if it hits you, he can still combo off of it. So he can like just get off the ground and throw it. And then if you just flinched the wrong way, you can get hit. And then all of a sudden you're eating a jab into Tatsu into potentially DP super. So that's really scary. He gets a lot of damage off of that. He gets the juggle properties, and he can basically make his trajectory even stronger, and it's already strong as is. Okay, but as far as cons go, Akuma does suffer. He does suffer from low health, and he suffers from low stun. So if you do hit him, it hurts a lot more than it would against other characters. So that's a downside to the character. And then also he has really stubby buttons. Like his mediums are relatively stubby, so they're a lot shorter. So he has to walk in a little bit more to make sure that he hits you. Okay, so he has to walk in a little bit more than other characters to guarantee that I'm going to place this on top of you. All right. So there's that. I would say, is there any other cons I can think of that I didn't write down? Oh, yeah, he requires precision. He's not necessarily like a super difficult character like Menat, but you do have to be precise with your style of play in neutral, because you can't just like kill somebody without being aware of certain elements of the matchup, like against another character. It's not like a Laura, right? If you played Laura, you can just play every character like Laura. But Akuma, it's going to be different. You have to be aware of what somebody could do to potentially thwart your strengths as a character. Okay. All right, so let's get into Menat. So Menat is a new Street Fighter character. She was introduced in Street Fighter 5. Okay, and right now, as it stands, she's, you could say top 3, definitely top 5, arguably top 3. Okay, so this character is amazing. She's just as versatile as Akuma. She has a very unique engine as a character because she has the ability to throw her orb. And her orb is essentially a projectile, so it can nullify projectiles. But she throws it out there, and the intent behind it is that at any point she can recall it, and when you block it, depending on how late you block it, she gains advantage. So when she gains advantage, that means she can move first. And any character that can move first, that means that they could stuff any sort of reaction that you try. Like, that's not invincible. So if I'm at advantage and you're not, and you try to press a button, but I move first, then it's more likely that I counter hit you, which is increased damage, and I can get unique combos that are only possible with counter hits. Okay, so she has this versatility, so it's very difficult to pin her to one specific playstyle because she can beat you by zoning you by playing with using her buttons like fireballs, but then she can also rush you down. Okay, and her V trigger is like, I think it's S-class. It's so good. It's ridiculous. It's one of the few V triggers I can think of that if you block it, it's just as bad as getting hit, if not worse. Like Urian's V trigger, I would not want to block. I don't want to get I don't want to block his V trigger. Urian's V trigger, and then I think of Menat's in the same realm as that. I don't want to block either of their V triggers. There are other characters you block them and you're like, oh, cool, Ibuki, right? I could just V reversal out of it, and then that's a waste of a bar. And you know, who's another character I can think of? Cammy, you block her V trigger, it's not that scary either. But you block Urian's or Menat's, and there's a mix-up inside of a mix-up inside of a mix-up. You know, and that is so terrifying. But her V trigger definitely propels her to the top of the tier list, in my opinion, because when you have a character that has a really strong V trigger, they can win by playing solid. Okay, that's amazing. But then when they can make those comebacks, it makes it so scary and neutral, because it's like, damn, I have to really just avoid the situation or nullify the chances of this situation happening. All right, so that puts more mental strain on whoever is going against the Menat player, because they are so aware that all that needs to happen for me to be in a mix-up is for me to block a stand medium punch. All right, and that thing has gargantuan range. Okay, so the other thing is she has access to a 3-frame normal. She has very strong anti-airs, and she does good damage. Okay, but the main strength of this character, I'm going to demonstrate to you with a small example, is that she avoids the engine by design. What does that mean, Zaf? What it means is, if you look at the game itself and you look at the universal aspects of it, we talk about crush counters, we talk about priority. That's the main thing I'm talking about. She can naturally avoid it. What? She can avoid it, yes. Okay, how does she do that? Let me show you. I'm gonna show you right now, my friends. Okay, peep this. Bang. This button right here is her stand medium punch. Okay? Now, this is ridiculous. What I'm showing you right now is what she looks like. This is the skeleton of the character when you look at just the hitboxes, basically what makes contact with the opponent, okay? So for those of you that don't know, the green is the hurtable box. So if you were to get hit, it would happen because something hit you on the green parts. That's why sometimes you'll see a button kind of go through a person's or a character's face, but nothing happens. It's because they didn't really hit the green, all right? So every move is different. Every move shifts in certain ways. Their hurt boxes shift in certain ways, okay? So this is what her stand medium punch looks like. So you see where the red box is? That means that's the hittable box. So if this part hits your green box, that means you get hit. So that is what tells the game, hey, I just hit this person. It's because the red crosses over to the green finish line of your opponent, okay? So my red wants to hit your green, and I don't want your red to hit my green. That's basically footsies. That's basically button pokes and hitting people, okay? So if you look at this button, this is Menat's stand medium punch. On the 6th frame, which is the first frame of startup, this is when it can hit you. So you see frame 5, there's no red box. That means it can't hit. This does not hit at all. And now it starts to hit, which means now it's active. So it means it takes 6 frames for it to be active, aka startup. So we see frame 6 that her hurt box is kind of covering her hitbox, okay? But then you see, wait a minute, what the hell is this? Why did it look like her hurt box just had a baby, right? Like, what is this? So now you see the hitbox is in front of the hurt box, right? So this is very, very important to the design of the character. I'm going to show you why in a second. But you start to see, wait a minute, whoa. This is kind of stretching out further and further. What the hell is going on? Do you see that? Now, all of a sudden, this button, that hitbox is all the way over here. So maybe you're like, okay, it doesn't matter. She still has a hurt box, right? Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to show you an example. Let's look at... who's a character that I can look at right now? Let's say Dalsum. Dalsum's a perfect example. Everybody knows Dalsum has very long limbs, right? Let's look at Dalsum's stand medium punch. Okay? So this is frame 11, and now it's the active frame. Do you see the issue here? His hurt box is completely shrouding his hitbox, all right? And in order for him to hit me, his red has to touch my green, right? So this is Dalsum. Now let me go to Menat. You see that? That red? Look how far away it is from the green. It's so far away that trades are very unlikely. And that's why, and when trades are unlikely, guess what? That means the priority system doesn't matter. You see, that's why she can fight around the engine of the game. She's incredible because of that. So if you look at a button like Dalsum's stand medium punch, he has more range, but it doesn't matter because the chances of him hitting her are so much slimmer just because of this fact. Look at how far away this is. All right, so basically all of this is invincible. This is like a DP basically. From this point, everything in front of the hurt box, you can think of it as a DP. Think of it as a second character basically. All right, but Dalsum, you can just jab him and you'd hit him. All right, so that's why that's important. So that is why I say that she is basically anti Street Fighter V meta, because she can just play away from crush counters. She doesn't get crush countered often, and if you ever really watch like their matches, it's very rare that she gets crush countered, right? So, but she does have her cons though. So she has below average stun and health at 950. Most characters at 1000. So if you do get in on her, your damage will leave an impact on a Menat player's like psyche, because you can do a lot of damage and she can die a lot faster than other characters. Okay, of course you're gonna probably take a lot of damage getting in. That's another conversation. So she doesn't have an invincible reversal outside of super. So if you do rush her down, and your pressure is on point and it's tight, right? Like, you know, 2-frame gaps or whatever, nothing bigger, and you know you're doing meaty throws. You're always just mixing and matching, whatever. And she doesn't have super bar, then she's basically screwed. She's gonna have to guess your throws. She's gonna have to block, and at worst, if your offense is optimal and it's disciplined, then you just get reset back to your sweep spacing, and then it's just like, all right, but you're still cornered. Okay, so because she doesn't have an invincible attack outside of super, it's very easy for you to just continue your offense when you get in without having to worry about some sort of get off of me move. All right, another thing is that she has very slow buttons with orb, and the reason is because she gets increased range. So what ends up happening is when she releases the orb and she doesn't have orb, and the orb's like, you know, away from her on the other side of the screen, she does get a speed increase, but then she loses the range because now the orb isn't hitting for her. It's away from me. It's like a dog that walked across the yard to take a shit. Like, it's over there. It's not near me anymore, right? I'm just waiting for the dog to come back and we go back inside. So that's basically what's happening with her orb buttons. All right. So let's talk about goals, and then we can get into the match. So with Akuma in this matchup, he's going to want to leverage his mobility to navigate Menat's wall of normals. All right. And he's going to do so in order to achieve a knockdown or pressure range. Okay. So he's going to want to do this while simultaneously avoiding the orb, because the orb, it's going to put a big, like, quirk in his plans, because now he has to fight two characters at the same time. When Menat has orb out, it basically becomes a character that attacks from the shadows, because at any point she can just recall it, and then if you're in the middle of trying to commit to a big move, it can hit you and she can combo off of it, even off of a trade. It has a lot of hits done. So it's very important for Akuma to keep mind and be tracking of that orb anytime he's trying to make a big decision. Okay, so you're going to see how Tokido tries to deal with it. And it's very interesting. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. And as far as Menat, so Menat, she's going to want to dish out her damage over time through her normals, okay? And so her normals doing gray damage, crush countering, or through her light pokes just to interrupt movement, like dashes, walk-ups, or startups of attacks, because her stand jab is really fast. It's like 5 frames with orb. So she's going to want to just do like damage in increments, but it leads to being a lot of damage because, you know, it's people are just struggling to get in, or they're taking a lot of gray damage and then they get hit once and they lose all that gray damage plus the damage of the normal. So she's going to want to leverage that. But in particular with this matchup, she's going to want to put orb out, and then she's going to try to disrupt or remove the tool of fireball from Akuma, because if you could take away his fireball, he becomes more linear. All right, so you're gonna see like Sako is going to throw orb on a reaction to fireball, but then you're gonna see how Tokido tries to use the release of orb to start his offense, because he starts backing up to a certain range where it seems like fireball range, but he's really just trying to jump in and get his pressure started, because Menat's buttons become a lot less reliable as anti-airs when she loses the orb. So Tokido starts to get more jump happy basically when orb is out, and it makes sense because of the risk reward. If he gets in on block, he's in on block. If he hits, he's getting a combo into knockdown. And if he gets anti-aired, it's like, okay, I mean, whatever, as long as he doesn't get crush countered and she doesn't have bar, it's not really gonna bother him too much. She's basically gonna just want to get orb behind Akuma, and Akuma's gonna want to nullify orb or use the fact that Sako wants to get orb out as a way to get in. That's the simplest way I could put it. Okay, so let's check this out. So I want to just show you guys a round from Tiger Uppercut. Tokido beat Sako. He reset it on him, I think 3-2, and then he beat him 3-1 in the second set in grand finals. So this was like around March or something like that. But I want you guys to just watch this round, and then this is going to kind of set up the narrative for how Sako drastically adjusts in this run back, okay? All right. Okay, so you're already seeing right here that Tokido is just making these big moves, right? In anticipation of the orb. So he's jumping from ranges where he can do a jump air fireball mix up, all right? And you see Sako's just trying to move away. He doesn't really want to play into this mind game, okay? You see he's backing up. So he's backing up because he's trying to entice him to throw orb. He's trying to convince him, hey, Sako, throw orb, so that way when you throw orb, I can jump on top of it, or when it goes behind me, if he does the heavy punch version. That's what they usually like to do against the zoners. They'll put the heavy version of orb behind the zoning character that they're fighting, so that way they can just explode it at any second and then combo into something for knockdown. All right, so you see, and then he commits to a big move when he's convinced that Sako is in the release mindset, because he knows once he gets in on Sako that he can mix him up. He's not too afraid of that. See, he's backing up to that same range. So instead of him like being at that like sweep range and walking into a bunch of buttons, he's basically just circumventing that by jumping from a further range. But he's staying behind the orb, because if he stays in front of the orb, then this is bad for Akuma, because now he has to worry about that, and then that allows Menat to move up and close the gap if she chooses to, but she doesn't have to. And then she can sweep, she can overhead into a combo, and so he just wants to avoid this situation entirely. There's like no reason for him to be doing this. See, so that every time he throws a red fireball, that's just basically him trying to convince Sako that he wants to zone, but he really doesn't want to zone. He doesn't care about that. See? And he's dead. So that's basically how he kept beating Sako, was just that very simple formula of him punishing Sako trying to do the right thing. All right, that's it. But now we will see the grand finals, and you're gonna see some really good adjustments on Sako's part. Okay. All right. So let's watch the opening gambit. We already know that Tokido likes to throw fireballs in the opening game, but only after he's convinced that the opponent is going to sit still. We've seen that from the other analysis that we've gone through together the past couple of weeks. So let's see what he does now. Does he still follow that script? Is that a Tokido thing? Well, based off of what we've discovered, it is a Tokido thing. You see how he waits? Okay, so he's waiting. But we see what we talked about with the red fireball. But see, there's the difference is that hit him. That actually hit Sako, so that completely shifts his plan. See, that's why he didn't dash immediately, because he's not expecting this to hit Sako. So when it hits him, you see how he kind of waited and then he dashed. He's like, oh shit, okay, that works. Let me rewind it one more time. So right here, you see how that orb is out? He puts that orb out. So of course he wants to establish the orb game, right? But his reason for doing it there is maybe he's anticipating that Tokido's going to do fireball right away, right? So he just wants to hit him and then have it there and then probably scare Tokido into block stone or whatever. But you'll see right here in this one instance how important orb is to Sako, because you see him backdash twice and he recalled it. All right, so the reason why he does it there is because he wants it to come floating towards Tokido, and then he has the advantage. Because he has the advantage, potentially, if Tokido does anything that is very laggy, or they trade, then he'd be able to combo off of it, and the advantage would be in Sako's favor, right? But he's trying to recall it so that it can stop Tokido from moving forward and let him regain some sort of composure mentally, all right? But he gets clipped, because he does it too late. And that's how you know something is really important to a player, is when they completely ignore a situation and they just try to force something. So like if Sako, you know, was very alert, he would have noticed by the time that Tokido jumped that was going to be super punishable. I'm going to try to pause it right when, see, he already jumped. And based off of the distance, like Sako thought he was a lot closer than he was, but he backdashed twice after getting knocked down by a red fireball. So factor in the pushback plus backdash, that's a greater distance than where his original standing point was. So that means the orb is taking a lot longer to get to him, all right? Because you can use it to stop jumping attempts, but he was a lot further away. So that's why this worked. And now right here, -2 gambit, we talk about this a lot. Against smarter players, when somebody's -2, especially like in the corner, it's a good idea to just walk up and backthrow them, all right? Because both players understand risk reward, and Sako understands Tokido is a sharp player. Tokido understands frame data. He studies it. He's a very studious player. So he knows that this is the smart thing to do. Tokido's -2, so Tokido's gonna just wait and just block it out. Tokido's at advantage anyways. He has me cornered. I don't have to do anything, right? I'm Tokido. I'm just sitting here with Akuma. Menat's cornered. I don't have to do much. But that's why this works. That's why the walk-up backthrow works in that situation. All right. Now this is a very subtle situation. You see, after the back throw, Sako does a walk-up stand roundhouse. All right. So this is very subtle. It can definitely fly by you if you're not paying attention to this. But the reason why he does this is because he's trying to thwart the one way that he knows he loses to Tokido, which is Tokido jumping in like a fucking madman, right? So he's like, I'm sick of this. I'm not trying to lose to this. That's why he just committed to roundhouse. Roundhouse isn't going to hit him crouching, all right? So like at any point, like you could run this through your head, like most players are going to just crouch after they get knocked down, right? That's like instinctive because you can block low, you can block mid, and you can react to an overhead, right? Cool. But you see that he commits to a move that can be crouched underneath, so there has to be some sort of intention behind it. He has to have, if you look at the way the hitbox is set up, you know it's aiming towards the sky, so that implies that Sako is expecting some sort of big movement to get out of the corner, all right? Oh, Just the Kid 55, thank you, sir, for the follow. I appreciate it. I think that's the Jerry player, right? Okay, so let's continue watching this. Okay, so you see how he jumps out of the corner? So that jab was just to like kind of thwart, just to feint. A lot of top players, they just throw jabs like that just to feint. And just get somebody to twitch. That's basically what the intention is behind it. Because he's not going to combo from that range, obviously, right? He knows that. So you see how he commits to the dash and then he just jumps out? That whole thing was strung together to get him out of a bad situation, all right? Because at best, like he gets a jump in combo, potentially a block stone, whatever, but at worst, it's like, oh, I'm out of the corner. Okay, whatever. All right? So this situation is very good. I've seen Sako do this a lot, but I didn't understand why he was doing it, but he would jab into a orb release because now he's getting advantage, right? So he's getting that advantage and he can now high-low mix up off of this, okay? So this is actually a really bad situation for Akuma to be in because now he can do this. You see that? He went for that sweep. So Tokido gets out of it, luckily enough. Tuna sub, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. All right, go back a little bit. Okay. All right, so we see that same spacing that we talked about, that like range 3, 4-ish, or it's definitely range 4, like 3.5, 4. But at that range, that's where Tokido starts to commit to the big moves because at that range, he would avoid stand fierce, so he wouldn't get hit on startup, the jumping frames. and it's also fireball range. So, you know, Menat might be inclined to just throw a release out because she's anticipating fireball. That's fireball range. Why wouldn't I think you're going to throw a fireball? But it's also jump range too. So that right there, Sako is aware of that. And this is a good adjustment on his part too, is that instead of Sako always resorting to punishing with a normal attack, he's actually investing bar. That's very important because you don't always want to resort to the same anti-air because you can get figured out. It just takes somebody altering their spacing, their timing, their button, one of those three elements, maybe all three combined, to mess up an anti-air attempt of yours. And then you can swing an entire match that way. Sako understands that, like, hey, you know, when he gets in on me, I have a hard time. So, you know what? I'm going to avoid even letting him do that. I'm going to just invest the bar. Sako usually would save he usually has super a lot, but I see here that his adjustment is to just invest the meter, to trust himself and just get it done, right? Instead of just relying on the damage. So I don't know if you guys understood what happened here, but this is a pretty cool moment. So, you know, he has orbs, right? So after the throw, he immediately released the medium kick orb. That was the orb in the front. So he lets that go, and when Akuma does V-trigger fireball, he's -6. No matter what fireball he does, he cannot move for 6 frames. So let's say if I'm playing Cammy, and he does that in my face, I can super, right? But Menat can actually jab because she doesn't get hit by the fireball because she just nullified the fireball with her V-trigger. That one orb stopped it, right? And that situation sucks for Akuma because it's like Menat can just walk up afterwards and just block, all right? But she'd still be at advantage. So this works out for Sako. It's a really genius application of his V-trigger. And he gets the stun. That was really good. So this is now round 2 of match 1. So we saw that the opening gambit from the previous round, which was round 1, that Tokido didn't fireball. Alright, he moved away. So does he fireball now? He does. And Sako crush counters it. Okay. So Sako's still in that like idea of you want to fireball at some point in the opening game because I know you. I've played you so many years and this is something that you do. Alright, gets crush counter. We see that red fireball. Ah, okay. Nice. So this is a subtle situation that I noticed when I was watching this. Was like after he crush countered him, right? Usually when you mess up from doing something, you're like, oh, okay, let me not do this. Let me adjust or something like that, okay? But the fact that Tokido still was throwing fireball, I think that told Sako that he was still in fireball mode. Because there's like 2 sides of Tokido's fireball game. There's when he throws it and it's fake. He's not trying to zone you. He's just trying to put it in your mind that he's throwing fireball. And then there's the real, like, I'm in a zoning mindset. Alright, so you see he just throws fireball right here. And watch Sako, he like he pauses, right? Walks back, and then he jumps. Because he understands, oh, Tokido was at fireball range. So he just walks back, recreates fireball range, right? And then he jumps. So that was a really high quality jump in attack. So you see that he did the stand roundhouse to try to stop him from jumping. Because Tokido does like to, he'll get hit on block, hit, whatever. And he'll just commit to an attack just to try to get back in there against Menat. You know, so maybe it's a Menat specific thing, but that's something that he definitely does do. So go to the next page. Alright, let's see. So see? So you see how he blocked that and he immediately committed to the jump forward? Okay. So check this out. So right here, Tokido doesn't punish this, right? And you'll see Tokido, this happens against Tokido a lot, but I don't know if people understand why this happens. So if anybody ever plays him, you can use this against him. Where if you if you do something that's punishable, but you alter the spacing or the timing just enough to mess up the frame advantage, or disadvantage rather, or to just throw off their timing, then like a player like Tokido, what runs in through his mind, because he's an intelligent player, is, oh, that's punishable. Let me punish it, right? But then by the time that runs through his head and he processes that, what ends up happening is that it's too late. You see, because he just committed to that punish. He could have hit confirmed that. Tokido's more than capable of hit confirming that, but he just committed to it. So it's possible that that specific string actually positioned Menat at just a range so where the later active frames of her V-skill hit, because it can be -4 on block if they hit on the later active frames, because it's -6 traditionally, and there's 3 active frames, so you subtract the remaining 2 and it can be -4 at best on block. But his stand medium kick is 5 frames, so either what happened was the spacing messed up the frame advantage, or the fact that he did it in such a weird situation that Tokido saw it but he recognized it too late and he tried to punish it, and he closes out the round. So you can save that in the end to like close out a match against an opponent like that. Yeah, that's why thinking is dangerous, because it can work against you. So let's see. All right, so now this is match 2, round 1. Okay. So opening, let's see. So we seen that his opening, Tokido's opening, was delay and just wait. You know, he'll just dance in place. And then the other opening he had was fireball, right? He waited and fireballed. So let's see what he does now. What does Tokido do right now? Oh, okay. That was kind of fast, huh? Okay, so he basically does a slight delay and he fireballs. So seeing this, we know Tokido adapts very fast, right? But if he adapts really fast and he got crush countered the round before, and I know he knows that, obviously, right? Why is he still resorting to this? This can be an indicator of impatience that's starting to build up in Tokido's mind. Okay, because he's now resorting to this again and again. All right, and it's not like he gets a crazy risk or reward off of it, but the risk, obviously, it's apparent because she can crush counter from that range. So why is he still doing this? So if I see this, I can say to myself, huh, he's still doing this opening gambit. Maybe he's gonna play super aggressive this round, because he's obviously more than capable of adapting, right? So let's watch this. Oh, look at, whoa, what? You see how aggressive he's playing? Look at that. See? He's making hard reads. Like, this is Tokido being in that, like, bloodthirsty mode. Look at that. That was an amazing punish, by the way. Oh my god, that was so sick. Oh my god. So we got Sako combos. He lays a trap. Regular throw. You saw that Akuma had reversal something, but he grabbed him right out of it. Standing light. Anti-air. Steps on his head. Oh, wow. See, and he keeps in that same situation. It's rough. Like, you'd think, like, jumping over her and then getting anti-air with a jab, it's like, whatever, at least I'm out the corner. But then you end up being in possibly a worse situation because of the orb. Alright, so he's playing aggressive again. That's another fireball at the opening. But this time he did it immediately. The last round he delayed. He still did it in the 99-second clock, but it was with the delay, alright? So let me see, I can show you guys this again. Let's see. Right, watch. He delayed, you see, and then he does it. But this time he just did it like right away. He on 99 seconds, just boom, just let it go. See? See, EX. He's playing really aggressive, and Sako smells it. He's like, okay, I understand what's going on. Now, right there, he tries to interrupt that string because when Menat does Light Punch Orb release on block, she's actually like -6 or something like that. I believe she's like -6 or something, but because of the spacing of when the orb actually contacts Akuma, it hits later, so there's more advantage. So this isn't punishable at that range. See? And the same thing happened when we talked about earlier when he does the V skill. But you notice this time Tokido switches it up and he does the Stand Fierce. He knows the Stand Fierce isn't going to punish, obviously. But the point is to potentially crush counter or just get some sort of like damage, some sort of knockdown off of the situation in case Sako tries to press his advantage. You see backdash. So he's doing a lot of this backdash into big movement. So he's doing a lot of this moving away, moving in, moving away, because he's trying to confuse Menat and just induce some sort of hesitation, because if you can make Menat hesitate, that's just enough for you to get that block stun and get your offense started. And he knows that Sako is a player that is susceptible to cracking. Sako's defense isn't the greatest. So he's just relying on getting that one hit and then just snowballing from there. Okay, so right there, this is an indication of Sako being confused, because if you see this, right, Sako reacts with a crouching jab. I don't know if you guys saw that. See? He does a crouching jab right here, but clearly he sees that Tokido's in the air. It's just because of the lead up in the situation, because of this, like how he hit him. And that was just enough, that contact, to cause Sako to look for footsies. Oh, okay, he hit me with the poke. All right. And then now he's in the air, and it's like, wait, what the hell is going on? All right. And that's why he gets hit by that. Oh. So we see that again. All right. So that's the opening game at this match. So he goes back to this delay. See? And that's what he was waiting for. We talked about that. That release. When he sees the release of the heavy punch orb behind him, then he uses that as the opportunity to close the gap. See? That's why he goes back to that range, because he's trying to convince Sako, throw fireball. I'm throwing fireball. And you know you want to put the orb behind me, but really you don't want to do that because this is going to happen. But it works out because Sako's adjustment, though, is unlike before. When Sako would do a orb release, he would do it and then close the gap. Like, he would move forward, right? So his mind would shift. He would automatically shift to, all right, I'm going to go play footsies now. And then I'm gonna just at some random point recall it and gain my advantage, and then be on the offensive and start snowballing from there. But when he did that, Tokido would just jump, and that moment of confusion would be just enough for Akuma to get bomb, to counter hit an anti-air attempt, or it would be enough to just get block stun. That's all he needs. He just needs the block stun to get in. That's it. So he's aware of that. So now Sako's adjustment is, all right, I'm going to orb, but I'm not going to commit to anything but anti-air at this range, because you like to use this against me. You like to use my focus against me. All right, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity for me to land damage. Okay, so let's see. So that's why he was able to recall the orb so fast. Otherwise, why would he do that? Right? See? All right. Nice. Nice. See? And that's usually what he does, is when he sees that release, he's like, okay, you're doing release, but I want you to do the release against my fireball. You know, so that's why he does the red fireball there. And that's why he just jump in on him like that. Because he understands what Tokido's focus is at each particular range. Oh my god, that's death. Yikes. Alright, so this is the last match if you guys didn't know that. Sako smoked, absolutely grilled Tokido in this tournament. He beat him 2-0 in winners, top 16, and then he beat him 3-0. So let's see how this all comes together in the last match. Okay, so we see delay fireball. Maybe Tokido's gonna start thinking, because he's down 2 matches, right? So the pressure's kind of building up. Alright. So he was anticipating fireball at that range. Nice. That was really good. See, because he understands, man, like, he knows Tokido wants to get out of this range. Remember what we talked about with the back throw? Where he back threw him and it created this range, and obviously that's that fierce range. So fierce is susceptible to being jumped in on, and Sako is aware of the pushback, what the pushback created in terms of the zone, the spacing. So you see that orb release creates that range, that jump range, that footsies range, that sweep range. So he's aware of that, and that's why he just looks for that and he snipes it immediately right back into the corner. See? And that is so good. He recalled it when he landed, and it gave him advantage on his dash. See? So he got just enough advantage to counter poke whatever Akuma was trying to follow up with. See, he tried to do it again. He thought he was going to jump at him. Okay. I think Tokido only won 1 round. Wow. Look at look at Menat in the back. What a funny guy. Interesting. So I'm sure he anticipates immediate fireball. And that's probably why he does the walk-up sweep. Because that's what Tokido we show that he like alternates between, is that delay fireball, immediate fireball. And you notice anytime he does that immediate fireball, it's a tell for the rest of the round how Tokido's gonna play. He plays super aggressive. See? Like him doing that, he's taking increased risks now. See? So yeah. That was a beautiful set. That was a dope set. I had fun reviewing that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Analysis paralysis out. We're done. So guys, let me know what you guys think.